On the news tonight, result of area council's election in FCT released. 2022 edition of Radio Day celebrated with renewed commitment to improvement of radio broadcast. Emergency responders commenced final evacuation of debris in Lagos building collapse. Good evening and thanks for joining us on the news tonight, reaching you from the studio of your heritage station NTA Ijebu ode. My name is Joel Ukbola. Now the news in details. Result of chairmanship election in the 6 area councils of the Federal Capital Territory Abuja have been released by INEC. NTA Ijebu ode has the details of that report.
From the 6 area councils in the FCT chairmanship election has been released. From Abaji area council, APC won with 7,280, while the PDP polled 4,062 votes and ADP 25.
We cannot go into declaring a candidate winner because the winning party here does not have a candidate that we can return as a winner.
From Gwagwalada, APC polled 11,125 votes, PDP 9,597, and APGA got 106 votes.
When Abubakar of APC, having satisfied the requirement of law, is hereby declared the winner.
While from Kuje, PDP emerged winner with 13,301 votes, APC 7,694 votes, and LP 79.
Suleiman Abdullah Sabo of PDP, having certified the requirements of the law, is hereby declared the winner.
From Buhari Area Council, PDP polled 13,045 votes, while APC 7,697 and APGA 6,003.
John Gabaya Shekwogwaza of PDP, having satisfied the requirements of the law, is hereby declared the winner.
From Kwali Area Council, APC won with 7,646 votes, PDP 7,345, and ADP 70 votes.
Sunday, Aladi Chair of APC, having satisfied the requirement of the law, is hereby declared the winner.
And from Amak, PDP emerged winner with 19,300 votes, APC 13,240, and PRP 287.
Christopher Zaka of People's Democratic Party, having satisfied the requirements of the law, is hereby declared the winner and is returned elected.
With this announcement of results from the 6 area councils of the FCT, the chairmanship election has come to an end. The only area council yet to have its chairman declared is Abaji. NTA Ijebu ode, NTA News.
Meanwhile, Yaga Africa, an accredited election observer body, has identified insecurity and low voter turnout as part of challenges of just concluded Federal Capital Territory Area Council's election. Yaga Africa Director of Program stated this while briefing the press. Odiri Arutere reports.
Yaga Africa spoke concerning reports received from observers on field. The Director of Programs, Yaga Africa, Cynthia Mbamalu, says their observers have identified some irregularities.
Late opening of polling units due to poor logistics and election security problems. In line with the election guideline, the BVAS was deployed in all polling units observed. In some polling units observed, INEC deployed 2 BVAS machines to the polling units. Some others with over 1,000 registered voters had only 1 BVAS. This is actually against INEC's plan. INEC had committed to have more than 1 BVAS in polling units with over 1,000 voters.
Yaga Africa suggests INEC officials should act in utmost sense of integrity transparency and professionalism in collation and the declaration of election results. In Abuja, Odiri Arutere, NTA News.
Devoted to radio and trust is the theme of the 2022 World Radio Day celebrated on the 13th of February every year. Ayodeji Makinde reports.
World say despite a global decline in trust in the internet and social media networks, radio continues to be seen by people as one of the most trustworthy news sources in Nigeria. Millions of people still rely on radio as a source of information, education and entertainment. And there are currently 265 AM and FM radio stations across the country.
The federal government says the branding of Canadian protesters as terrorists or insurrectionists amounts to double standard. The Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed stated this at a media briefing in Oro, Kwara State. Anthony Forson reports.
Canadian truckers protest over COVID-19 vaccine mandates and other COVID restrictions began last month, with their protests taking its toll on smooth operations. The government has rendered them a terrorist or insurrectionists and have been subjected to a number of clampdowns by the same government and private organizations. Giving details on how the protesters are being handled, Lai Mohammed explained that GoFundMe has shut down the campaign to raise funds for the truckers after raising over $10 million. Twitter has also suspended the truckers' account, while Ontario government has frozen access to millions of dollars donated through online platforms such as Give-Send-Go to the protesters.
So Jimmy Watson, the mayor of Ottawa, Canada's capital city, has also declared a state of emergency in the city in response, saying the protests pose a threat to residents' safety.
Relating the truckers' protests to Nigeria, Lai Mohammed recalled,
during the NSAS protests, which culminated in the blockage of public roads and massive destruction of government and private property, Canada was one of the countries that spoke out in support of the protesters.
Even though Nigeria is not gloating on the unfortunate incident in Canada, truth, he said, must be told.
Recall also that Twitter actively supported the NSAS protesters and even raised funds, while GoFundMe was used to raise funds for the protesters. These are the same entities that are now rushing to distance themselves from the protests in Canada and even denying them the use of their platforms. This is similar to what played out during the January 6, 2021 insurrection at the U.S. Capitol in Washington, D.C., where those involved are either still being investigated or have been charged to court. I don't blame them. Nobody wants their country destroyed under the guise of protests.
Nigeria's successful negotiation with Twitter to fashion out measures to enable a responsible use of the platform, which will apply to other social media platforms, is a global trailblazer aimed at preventing harmful content from social media platforms. Anthony Forson, NTA News.
Thanks to God and seeking for the wisdom of God was the thrust of the sermon at the Cathedral Church of Our Saviour, NTA Ijebu ode. Kende Amele reports.
It's the last Sunday of the month, a moment to thank God for His showers of blessing, divine protection, and sing His praises for allowing them to see the end of another month. So members of the church are in the mood as they danced, thank God, and engage in worshiping mighty God for giving them the privilege and grace to see the end of the month. in his sermon entitled Power and Wisdom of God in the Ministry. Venerable Adolapo Osunkoya advised that relying on God's wisdom is the only way to go.
This wisdom of God is not only for we clergymen or the ordained, but it should be for everybody. If people can really understand the power behind God's power, or really understand the power of God, I want to tell you, many will not be even coming to church again. They will, because they must have learned, they must have studied, they must have been embedded in the Word of God to the extent that even before they will come to you as a pastor, they will I just want to get some more clarification. So, as I've said the other time, getting to know what the wisdom of God is, I don't think it's possible. It's not possible. You can't just know it, because the way God will reveal himself to Mr. A will be different from Mr. B. And I used to say it. I saw a book that spoke on John chapter 3 verse 16. As small as this, yet I met another one that is as big as this, and I even met another one that was as big as a dictionary, which is telling you that when depending on how you expose, you release yourself to God, it is only then you can understand God himself.
According to him, there is immense benefit in applying God's wisdom in all aspects of human endeavors.
You're still watching the news at 7 on NTA Ijebu ode. There will be more reports after this message.
Atiba University, AU, in God we trust. Atiba University, knowledge, our light to the world. Knowledge we seek, knowledge we give, knowledge our creed, knowledge our key to change our world, make it a better place. God has strength, knowledge our key. Atiba University, AU, in God we trust. Atiba University, knowledge, our light to the world. We learn to live, we learn to lead, we learn to excel and be self-sufficient.
You're welcome back. And now to gender issues. Efforts to eradicate female genital mutilation can only be achieved by increased public enlightenment on the dangers inherent in the practice, which experts say put the nation on the spotlight among the Committee of Nations. Correspondent report on this in the wake of the zero tolerance for female genital mutilation, a decision of the United Nations seeking to put an end to female genital mutilation by year 2030. Here are the details of that report. Female circumcision, also known as female genital mutilation, is an old practice of cutting part of the external genitals of the girl child. Statistics shows that at least 200 million girls and women alive today living in 30 countries have undergone FGM, with many of them living in precarious health conditions. Nigeria is among 28 African countries that have banned female genital mutilation. But in spite of that, 23.3% of women in Nigeria aged 15 to 49 have undergone FGM. This practice is still in the front burner despite the Child Rights Act and the Convention on Protection of the Girl Child, which has been domesticated. Mrs. Bumi Ekundayo, a lawyer and gender advocate from the Justice Development and Peace Commission, JDPC, speaks on the unwanted narrative.
Most of the time you find out that it's based on cultural causes, and culture sometimes does not look at the positive, the negative impact or the negative consequences such acts will have on the victims or on the individuals. All culture want to do is protect our culture, maintain the culture, uphold the culture. And most of the time, especially when it comes to female genital mutilation, you find out that who are the custodian of this culture? The women. And female genital mutilation does not have any medical benefit to the girl. Instead, it has negative consequences on the girl. It can make them bleed to death. It can make them develop cysts. It can make them develop infertility.
For the narrative to change, adequate public enlightenment needs to be done in addition to criminalizing the act.
Nigeria has also passed a law we call Violence Against Persons Law at the national level. In some states, for instance in Ogun State, we have also passed that law, Violence Against Persons. I think it was passed in 2013. But I don't think you can find anything about female genital mutilation in that law. I'm not sure of. Yes, of course, the child right law would have things like that. So when you talk about, even if you have the laws in place, like the child right law, having something like that, the Violence Against Persons does not have. We have not adopted, we are signatory to CEDAW, but have we passed it? No.
Some women who spoke to NTA described the practice as barbaric, saying it is alien to the tradition and customs of Ijebu land.
It is not a good practice. We need to stop it. Several terminal diseases can be contracted in the process of circumcision. In this modern age, I don't expect anybody to still be indulging in such a practice.
The stakeholders agreed that all hands must be on deck to achieve the target of 0 FGM by year 2030. In Ijebu ode, Joel Bukbola, NTA News. Emergency responders have commenced final evacuation of debris at the 3-story building collapse site situated at Akonbi Close in Yaba area of Lagos. Abolade Salami report that officials of the Lagos State Building Agency have cordoned off the area in order to commence investigation into the cause of the collapse. His reports.
The unfortunate incident was occurred around the Yaba area of Lagos, according to reports from emergency management agencies, claimed 4 lives while 2 persons were rescued alive. The 3-story building still under construction, eyewitness informed NTA, was red flagged by the Lagos State Building Control Agency to suspend work on the site due to some lapses observed on the building. This, however, led to work temporarily being put on hold. Unfortunately, engineers working on the project recently returned to site to commence work, and the unimaginable happened.
I actually saw a red flag on it, but I don't know what happened thereafter. But the only thing I could see about the building is that the foundation was okay, but post-foundation level, I can't say much on that.
It was red flag, of course, yes. Stop work came. They stopped the work, they came as a team. Who opened it? Will they continue without being opened? So there are a lot of issues I think we should look into. It's more fortunate that it's happening this way.
The deployment of heavy-duty equipment alongside assistance from youths in the neighborhood helped in the rescue of 2 persons, while those trapped under the rubble were not lucky enough, as the remains have been deposited in the morgue. Situations where emergency responders are prevented from carrying out their rescue operation by the presence of large crowd at emergency scenes, responders say, is a major challenge that must be addressed.
We have to break in the barricade before we could get to the scene of the emergency. But however, we put everything that is humanly possible to ensure that we rescue the people that were involved. We will be taking out the debris. We will be going down slowly and steadily in all the quadrants to ground 0.
In the meantime, security operatives are present at the site to ensure law and order is maintained as heavy-duty trucks cut away the debris. In Lagos, Abolade Salami, NTA News.
To end the news, here is a recap of our top stories. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has released results of area council's election in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. The 2022 edition of Radio Day has been celebrated globally with renewed commitment to improvement of radio broadcast. And lastly tonight, we inform you that emergency responders have commenced final evacuation of debris at the site of the collapsed building in Yaba, Lagos. That does it on the news tonight. Thanks for staying with us and do enjoy the rest of your day.